Mali has been exposing the foreign countries' conspiracies in the country. Earlier, Mali officially announced that France was financing terrorist activities and conflicts in the region, providing rebels with weapons and funds. It was even said that Malian authorities have sufficient evidence to bring charges against France to the International Criminal Court. However, the US was not mentioned. But now, as of the latest updates, Mali's armed forces have uncovered various US mercenaries in Mali's Anefis military base. It becomes suspicious, given that all US troops left Mali after the coup when the military cooperation ended. If that is the case, what are the US mercenaries doing in Mali? When the Malian armed forces discovered them, they instantly went and captured the mercenaries. But what was done with them later, given that they were illegally present, which comes under charges of spying and espionage? Let's know the whole story in this video. In 2013, Mali underwent significant political turmoil following a coup d'état that ousted President Amadou Toumani Touré. It resulted in a power vacuum that allowed Tuareg separatist rebels to seize control of the northern part of the country. This presented fertile land for the United States to step forward as a savior. In reality, it wanted to have a military presence in Mali, and perhaps the whole conflict was a stage to make that happen. In collaboration with international partners, the US intervened to provide military support to the Malian government. You can guess what type of support it would have been that was given after an invasion. From 2014 to 2018, the role of the US military evolved as the situation stabilized. The US expanded its presence beyond securing the capital to include activities such as training Malian troops, providing intelligence support, and engaging in counterterrorism operations. US forces worked alongside Malian counterparts to combat extremist groups, including Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb and its affiliates. Additionally, logistical support was extended to French forces involved in Operation Barkhane, a counterterrorism mission in the Sahel region. Between 2019 and 2021, the US announced a gradual reduction of its troop presence in Mali, citing the increasing capabilities of Malian forces and a need to address other priorities. This reflected the belief that Mali was becoming more capable of managing its own security challenges. The US presence diminished during this period, decreasing troop numbers from around 300-400 in 2018 to approximately 100-200 barns in 2020. The focus shifted to providing training for elite Malian counter-terrorism units and intelligence support for Malian operations. Later in 2021, the US declared an accelerated withdrawal from Mali, expressing concerns about the Malian government's cooperation and an elevated risk of civilian casualties in US operations. This decision aligned with a broader shift in US foreign policy away from long-term military deployments in Africa. Throughout 2022, the number of US troops in Mali rapidly decreased, with the aim of completing the withdrawal by the end of the year. During this phase, the US concentrated on transferring training and support responsibilities to other international partners, including France and Germany. By August 2023, the US had finalized the withdrawal of all troops from Mali, marking the conclusion of a decade of military involvement. This makes it clear that there must be no US troops present in Mali. If even a single one is found, he would be present illegally and liable to spying and espionage charges. The latest news reveals the presence. In the heart of the Sahel, Mali, with its vast deserts and cultural riches, has become a theater for numerous political maneuvers. While history cautions us to anticipate the unexpected, recent events in Anefis are truly unprecedented. Information from the Mali Armed Forces FAMI affirms the presence of the US private military company, PMC Unity Resources Group within the country. Following the reconquest of the Anefis military base from Azawad militias, various artifacts surfaced, including documents and an ID card belonging to Senior Officer Stephen Russell, mobile phones, and notebooks with detailed descriptions of territories and notes on regional events. These findings serve as compelling evidence of foreign interference in Mali, compounding the challenges the country faces in restoring peace and stability. Anefis, situated in northeastern Mali, surpasses its status as a mere inhabited locality. It stands as a strategic center, a focal point in Mali's geopolitical landscape. Beyond its population, Anefis symbolizes the political and military struggles shaping contemporary Mali. Historically, Anefis was a trading post, a crossroads for diverse cultures exchanging goods and ideas. This tradition of exchange and interaction elevated its status to an intermediate strategic object, susceptible to foreign influence. Today, Anefis is a pivotal point on Mali's conflict-ridden chessboard. Its proximity to the city of Kidal, known for various rebel groups and militias, renders it a strategic hotspot. The recent capture of the Anefis military base by the Malian Armed Forces FAMA was not just a tactical victory, but also a symbolic one, reinforcing national resilience and determination. The revelation of American mercenaries operating in such a strategically and symbolically crucial area has had a dual impact. Nationally, it has raised concerns about homeland security and the government's capability to protect borders and citizens. How could a foreign entity, a private company, operate without detection? Internationally, this discovery has ignited debates about the role of private military companies in modern conflicts. Questions emerge about their employers, objectives, and the extent to which they will go to safeguard the interests of those who hire them. Foreign powers have had long-standing interests in Mali, often driven by economic motives and the desire for access to abundant natural resources. The presence of Unity Resources Group, a contingent operating globally, suggests that some external actors may prefer safeguarding their interests through private intermediaries rather than direct military intervention. The detection of a PMC like Unity Resources Group in Anefis, hired by an undisclosed third party, might signify the beginning of a new trend of outsourcing military operations to non-state actors. This trend raises concerns about the integrity and sovereignty of African countries in the face of interventions by foreign private military companies. You should know that also in late 2022, reports emerged indicating the possible presence of U.S. mercenaries at Mali's Anefis base, situated in a region grappling with ongoing security challenges. Moving into October 2023, Malian media outlets reported observations by local residents, noting the presence of unidentified foreign individuals at the Anefis base. This fueled speculation and raised concerns among some Malian officials and citizens about potential threats to Mali's sovereignty and security. Discoveries at the recently liberated Anefis military base, including Chief Officer Stephen Russell's identification card and a notebook containing sensitive data, serve as substantial evidence of foreign involvement in financial matters. This revelation, coupled with other evidence, exacerbates the challenges Mali faces in its pursuit of peace and stability. The identification of equipment, documents, and materials indicating the presence and involvement of PMC Unity Resources Group at Anefis provides concrete evidence and directly challenges Mali's territorial integrity and sovereignty. This evidence, including identity badges and encrypted communications, leaves little room for doubt about the existence of foreign forces operating on Malian soil. Foreign interest in Mali is not a recent development. It is motivated by economic factors, such as accessing natural resources and strategic considerations like counterterrorism efforts. The presence of the PMC Unity Resources Group suggests that certain external entities may choose to safeguard their interests through private intermediaries rather than direct intervention, potentially complicating geopolitical dynamics. But besides finding evidence of U.S. mercenaries' presence, did the Malian Armed Forces find U.S. troops at the military base? Before you know about that, you should know that France has also done more than what the U.S. is trying to do secretly in Mali. As of now, Mali has accused France of providing support to non-state actors and breaching its airspace, resulting in strained relations between the West African nation and its former colonial ruler. In a letter to the head of the United Nations Security Council, Mali's Foreign Affairs Minister, Abdoulaye Diop, asserted that France had violated its airspace more than 50 times this year, using drones, military helicopters, and fighter jets to gather intelligence for terrorist groups in the Sahel region and supply them with weapons and ammunition. The French embassy in Mali strongly refuted the allegations, emphasizing that France has never backed terrorist groups and highlighting the sacrifices made by French soldiers to enhance security in Mali. This recent dispute represents a drop in Mali's relations with its former colonial power, occurring as Western influence diminishes in the Sahel region. Simultaneously, there are reports of Russian forces landing in Mali, further complicating the geopolitical landscape. The initial positive reception of French forces in Mali in 2013 has transformed into strained relations, exacerbated by the overthrow of the government by a military junta in 2020 and subsequent shifts in alliances, including Mali's alignment with Moscow. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Mali's Foreign Affairs Minister Abdoulaye Diop, reiterated claims that France breached Mali's airspace and provided arms to Islamist militants operating in the country's northern regions. France denied these accusations, characterizing them as defamatory and asserting the transparency of its intervention. During the briefing, Diop proposed a specific Security Council meeting to present evidence of alleged duplicitous acts and destabilization efforts by France. He emphasized that Mali reserves the right to self-defense if France continues to compromise its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and national security. As other European countries conclude their military involvement in Mali, citing concerns about the junta's collaboration with Russian fighters, Islamist militants have advanced further into eastern Mali, capturing territory and causing civilian casualties. The ongoing instability in Mali, dating back to 2012, has seen various interventions, including from France, to counter Islamist militants linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. During a UN Security Council meeting, Mali's foreign minister accused France of engaging in duplicitous acts of aggression and espionage to destabilize the country. France's UN ambassador, Nicolas de Rivière, dismissed these claims as false and defamatory, emphasizing that France had never violated Malian airspace. The harsh exchange underscored the strained relations between the two countries since the 2020 coup and the withdrawal of French forces in 2022. Earlier, Mali's then Prime Minister, Choguel Kokala Maiga, accused France of training terrorist groups within the country. He contended that French troops established an enclave in Kidal, handed it over to the terrorist group Ansar al-Din, affiliated with Al-Qaeda, and prevented the Malian military from accessing the territory. Maiga asserted that Mali possesses evidence of armed groups trained by French officers expressing dissatisfaction with the situation. The tensions between Mali and France have heightened, with Mali alleging that France abandoned the country due to its decision to reduce its military presence in the Sahel region. Reports suggest that Mali's potential collaboration with the Russian private security firm Wagner in hiring paramilitaries has further strained the relationship. France intervened in Mali in 2013 to counter armed rebels, and despite planned troop withdrawals, it remains committed to combating the armed uprising in the Sahel. Later, Mali found out that France was financing terrorist activities using its network of non-governmental organizations, NGOs, that ostensibly exist to help the people of Mali. However, secretly, they serve as the best tool for financial transactions and provide terrorists with funds. Therefore, Mali's military government has mandated the cessation of all activities by non-governmental organizations, including those receiving financial assistance from France. Diplomatic tensions between France and Mali have heightened this year, particularly with France endorsing sanctions by the West African ECOWAS against Mali over delayed elections. The expulsion of the French ambassador in January and President Emmanuel Macron's announcement of French troop withdrawal in February have further strained relations. The persistent accusation of Mali collaborating with Russian mercenaries has exacerbated discord, with the Malian government asserting its engagement solely with Russian instructors. Reports of human rights abuses by mercenaries linked to the Malian army have deepened concerns, intensifying the diplomatic standoff. What's more, Mali has accused the French army of involvement in spying and subversion by utilizing a drone to record footage of what France alleges were mercenaries burying bodies near a military base. The drone reportedly flew over the Gossi base, per the junta's statement. In response, The French army released a video indicating Russian mercenaries covering bodies with sand, suggesting an attempt to falsely implicate departing troops in war crimes. An inquiry into the discovered mass grave at the Gossi base has been initiated by Mali. The Malian military claimed that the drone's presence amounted to spying on Malian armed forces, accusing French forces of subversion through the dissemination of false images to tarnish the reputation of Malian forces. Government spokesman Abdoulaye Maïga asserted that the drone was present for espionage purposes, with the intent of falsely accusing Malian armed forces of civilian killings to tarnish their image. You should know that both France and the US have made attempts to deploy their troops in Mali, and a surge in conflicts has paved the way for their military involvement. Despite officially withdrawing their troops, there are allegations that both countries are clandestinely working to instigate conflicts and discreetly send their troops back to Mali. France's historical ties with Mali date back to the colonial era when Mali was part of French Sudan. This historical connection has significantly influenced France's enduring engagement in Mali's political and military affairs. In 2013, France launched Operation Serval, a military intervention aimed at suppressing the Tuareg rebellion and preventing the extremist groups from taking control of northern Mali. While initially successful, this operation marked the beginning of a lasting French military presence in Mali. The United States entered the Mali scene in 2013, providing training, logistical support, and counter-terrorism assistance to French and Malian forces. The U.S. military presence steadily increased, reaching a peak of around 5,000 troops in 2021, reflecting the U.S.'s strategic interests in counter-terrorism efforts and maintaining influence in the Sahel region. Amid growing concerns about the Malian government's collaboration and the potential for civilian casualties, both France and the U.S. announced their intentions to withdraw their troops from Mali in 2021. While the withdrawal process concluded in 2023, lingering suspicions persist regarding their motives. Critics argue that both nations may have devised covert tactics, including deploying mercenaries and conducting surveillance operations to maintain their influence in Mali. They point to alleged deployments of mercenaries and secretive surveillance activities as indications of covert operations. These allegations have strained Mali's relationship with its former colonial power, France. Earlier, we saw a pattern between conflicts and, followed by the influx of Western troops in Mali. This strengthened the argument that Western countries were actually supporting those conflicts. The dispatch of French troops to Mali in 2013 under Operation Serval initially succeeded in quashing the Tuareg rebellion and thwarting the advance of Islamist groups in the northern region. However, the prolonged presence of foreign forces, especially in the central and northern areas, might have inadvertently played a role in escalating conflicts in these regions. The introduction of foreign troops into Mali's complex social and political landscape heightened intercommunal tensions and exacerbated existing grievances. Some communities perceive the presence of foreign forces as a threat to their traditional way of life and a form of neocolonialism, fostering resentment and distrust toward foreign troops and contributing to local conflicts. Critics, particularly targeting France, have alleged that foreign forces exhibited favoritism towards certain factions in internal Malian conflicts, leading to prolonged violence and instability. In turn, this cleared the road for France to extend its presence in Mali. The more conflicts there are in Mali, the easier it is for foreign troops to be in Mali. Numerous reports and investigations have documented instances of foreign involvement in Mali's conflicts, including accusations of arms trafficking, financial support to armed groups, and the presence of foreign mercenaries operating alongside local factions. Now, let's talk about whether any U.S. mercenaries were found at Anefis military base. Even though the Malian armed forces discovered evidence like identification cards, maps, and documents carrying sensitive information, no actual troops were found. Perhaps they knew Malian armed forces were coming, so they immediately left the military base. But now, as the base is under the control of Mali's armed forces, there is little chance that the U.S. mercenaries would find any other place to reside. Either they will be captured by the Malian armed forces, or they will surrender. In any case, the U.S. mercenaries have to face consequences. It's because Mali compromised its sovereignty a lot when France spied on and breached its territorial integrity. Now, Mali would like to make an example out of the U.S. mercenaries. Now, the world would want to see what the International Criminal Court would do about it. The world has seen how the Western nations leverage the International Criminal Court as a tool for political influence. The ICC's disproportionate emphasis on investigating and prosecuting individuals from non-Western nations is hidden from no one. The ICC's caseload displays a notable bias toward Africa, with nearly two-thirds of its investigations involving individuals from African countries. This skewed focus raises concerns about the ICC's impartiality and its potential role as a conduit for Western influence over African nations. Despite allegations of war crimes involving Western leaders, the ICC has yet to launch formal investigations into these cases. This selective application of the law fosters perceptions that the ICC is more inclined to pursue charges against individuals from non-Western countries. What's more, the ICC's decision-making process is susceptible to political considerations. The court's prosecutor, a pivotal figure in initiating investigations, is elected by the Assembly of States Parties, a body heavily influenced by Western nations. This structure raises concerns that political interests may influence the prosecutor's decisions, leading to the selective targeting of individuals based on their nationality or political affiliations. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict has heightened the perception of the ICC as a tool of Western influence. While the ICC has initiated an investigation into alleged war crimes during the conflict, it has faced criticism for apparent inaction against potential war crimes committed by Ukrainian forces. This selective approach has fueled accusations of bias and political maneuvering. What do you think should be done with the U.S. mercenaries captured in the Anefis military base? Should they be charged and given sentences to ensure that foreign countries never blatantly dishonor the sovereignties of African countries? Let us know your thoughts on why the Western countries are so obsessed with keeping their military presence in Mali and other African countries. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.